And hello, everyone. Welcome to Get a Grip with Coach Elex. I'm your host, Coach Elex, and with me, my amazing co host,
Stephen Frederick Masick.
who is also my amazing husband. And today, we are together to have an amazing conversation about what are you putting off, waiting for the right time, the right place, and the life that could be happening now. So if this is a conversation that calls to you, stay tuned because Steven, the medium, and me, we're going to dive way deep into what that is and what that looks like. You right?
Exactly. And if you're wondering when Elix says if this calls to you, just listen and you'll hear you. Right?
Yeah, because it's going to call it this. I know this conversation calls to just about everyone in the yoo-hoo. It's
Exactly.
probably going to be that gremlin in the background, that
Yes.
gremlin that we all have, that
Yes.
sometimes we mute, sometimes we don't.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Exactly. But before we get into that conversation, Stephen, let's get into our conversation. What's going on? How you doing? And what are we up to,
How
Stephen?
you doing? Well, I just first of all want to just really thank everyone who's listening. I feel blessed. I feel like I'm doing a speech that I just won an award. No, I'm really happy that people listening. So hey, a shout out to everybody, right?
We are gonna win an award.
Well, listen, things are
We're
going.
in, that's what we're manifesting. So you're right on track.
Of course, of course. But I am having just a really great week. So Sunday was a really, really great event, as always. You were part of that. So about every 6-7 weeks, I do an event in Dunn and Sons. It's a boutique wine store in Cape Cod in Yarmouth. That's always such a great group, isn't it?
It's amazing. I love. First of all, for me, anyways, a wine shop is like being in a candy shop. It's just beautiful, and the stuff that they have there is one of a kind. So if you're in this area, or if you come to the Cape for a vacation or a day or whatever, that's a place that you want to stop at.
Yeah, you know what, Elix? I just noticed this yesterday, which I shared with you, that one of the participants in this reading, he was the only guy. He was with his wife, and he sent me a message which was so nice, just saying, because the event is 2 hours, and I read him, and his father came through and did a lot of talking, but he just said it was the best 2 hours of his life. It was just really beautiful, and also something that happened, which is it's a common occurrence, is that there were another group of people. There was a mom and 3 daughters, and I was reading and kept asking about the angel, and finally I just sort of like pinpointed it down to one of the daughters and said, this is connected to your husband. He doesn't carry like something metal or like this. I keep seeing it, and I kept saying the angel, the angel, the angel. So she just kept saying.
And by the way, I was listening, and you persisted. That angel would not leave you.
No, because it was her husband's grandfather who was giving a validation to his grandson, and he would not stop. And the cool thing about Spirit is they run the show, right? When I'm doing this, I don't run anything. I'm not the boss. They are. They figure out what they're gonna do, and if this grandfather looked at me and was like, "Say it, a couple more times or one more time," and I'm like, "I already did," and then he just looks at me like, "Yeah, I'm not moving." And I mean, I'm just like, well, he's not letting anyone else come in. I'm like, okay, so I have to bring it up again. But they do that in such a beautiful way. They just want to make sure I sort of reiterate whatever the message was. And the next day, lo and behold, I get an email from her with a picture of the medal that is an angel that her husband wears every single day. So, how's that?
It was really unbelievable, Stephen. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, it was really unbelievable. So
But you know what, people, listen, it's not easy when you have me staring at you and who's this? Why are they bringing up this? I mean, I don't stop, right? They keep talking and I keep talking, and they're looking at everyone's like the person that I'm reading is looking at me trying to catch up. And so many times if they've got either family members or friends, they can sort of like, jump in and help out. But when you're on in the spotlight with me, sometimes your mind just freezes up and you figure this stuff out later. The point of this whole thing is that the grandfather gave a beautiful validation to his grandson, which I thought was beautiful.
Yeah. And by the way, so that was your farewell event for now,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So
Yes, like the Sound of Music. Farewell, goodbye. Dun, 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 dun. I don't know why I'm such in a singing mood today, but you just get what you get, right?
and I just go with the flow because I'm used to getting what I get. So I
But
get
yes,
what I
it was.
get.
It was my. It was just not a permanent farewell, but I had been doing this. God, maybe 2 years, I guess. I think time goes by so fast, and I just needed to, because I'm just working on other stuff. We're working on other stuff. I just needed to just tell the owner, Erica and Adam, who are amazing. I'm just gonna hold off a little bit, for until if I do a next one. So
Yeah. And we, great news is we are headed to Los Angeles,
La La Land.
La La Land, and I am super excited. And that also means Eva Milagros, my cousin from Puerto Rico. She is. I mean, we love Eva Milagros. She is one of the most reliable people that you can have in your life, in your inner circle.
Yes.
So she's flying tomorrow, right?
Yeah, we pick her up tomorrow.
Tomorrow, and she's gonna stay with our little boy Django for the week that we're out.
Yes.
But she's flying tomorrow. She's gonna stay. We come back Wednesday, but she's gonna stay through Saturday because she's gonna be working from here. So she's gonna go. She's gonna be here for 2 weeks, Saturday to Saturday. We're super excited about that.
I was going to say, I love that because we don't leave till Tuesday. So she gets here tomorrow. So we get to spend time with her tomorrow and Sunday and Monday. And then when we get back, we have a couple of days before she leaves too. And we just saw her in January when we went to PR.
Yeah. And when she takes care of our dog, we get updates from her every 5 minutes. He turned to the right. He turned to the left.
He sneezed.
But she's awesome.
Oh my God, she
love
is the best.
Eva. So, and but we're excited. We're going to LA. We're really excited. This is work for both of us. So you and I will be quite busy, but we're in La La Land. So busy still means we're excited to be there, and we're gonna have a lot of fun in the process.
Yes, this is you know what, we went last night to dinner at Epic, and this is going to be epic. I think that's the theme labeling on this trip. Besides the fact the two of us love the West Coast, as well, especially LA and Santa Monica, where we usually stay, and of course Palm Springs. It's kind of, I said this to you, it's kind of weird and sad that we're not going to have a chance, because our trips are always LA/Palm Springs. We drive, it's like 2-hour drive, and we love Palm Springs, but we just we just don't have enough time to get to Palm Springs.
This time around, we just cannot make it, but that's okay.
We'll be there in spirit, okay. And we'll be there. We'll be there soon.
Yes. But listen, I also want to do a shout out before we take our first break to one of my favorite coaches at my CrossFit box in Upper Cape. And his name is Eric, and he videoed me today. So we're doing the CrossFit Open. I think I talked about that last week. So it's 26 for the year, 0.2, because it's the second workout of the Open, and he's like coaching me, and then he knows me well enough to know I'm all about the music that he plays, and I need good music to work out because these workouts are really hard. And in the middle of me doing 26.2, he starts playing It's Raining Man. And I would say, if you know, you know, that's quite appropriate. And I was so distracted because I just wanted to stop and dance to the music. I mean, who wouldn't want to dance to that, Stephen? And
Absolutely.
so, but he took a video, and you could in the video you could actually hear him laugh because he was laughing hysterical. But if you don't follow me, go find me at Coach Helix, and you'll get to see the video of me doing a workout and then literally forgetting about the workout so I could dance to the music. So
That alone should be a reason why you need to follow Elix. Just saying. Just that alone, because it was hilarious. And as a matter of fact, that's what I commented. How appropriate that's the song, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's Rain
Well,
Man.
people just listen. I am who I am, and we don't pretend. We don't cover up who we are. Who we are, and if you either love us, and if you don't, then move along, Betty. We don't.
Well,
We don't.
well, this morning you made a comment about something about, well, that's in our community. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. I haven't, I'm not there yet. I'm still deciding.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not really sure.
Yeah. Okay. So you really want to go into this conversation now. I
Just
don't
kidding.
think
Just
so.
kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
But the point is, I mean, listen, I often say that Steven is super silly, and that's one of the things I love about him because he makes me laugh all the time. But I think I make you laugh too. I think I'm pretty funny too. Would you say?
You're hilarious.
Are you being
Hilarious.
sarcastic?
No, no, you are funny. Especially, the best, the best, or the thing I love the best is when you dance. And and
Why?
I'm privileged because most of it nobody sees except me in Django, of course. But that's pretty funny, and I've got to just tell you, I got a lot of videos. Right?
Yes, and they will stay in the vault because you do not have my permission
I don't know.
to play
You know
any
what?
of those videos. And
That could be like a good blackmail.
we're gonna leave it at that. But listen, before we go on, another shout out because this one is super important, Stephen.
Why?
Our producer Mark. It's
Oh,
back on
this
the
is
chair.
huge.
Hello.
Yes.
Mark was
Mark.
gonna have surgery, but then he recovered and his thing healed, and the doctor said he didn't need surgery, and he was excited to call and say, I'm going to be back doing your show. And we were so excited to hear that, Stephen.
Yeah, of course. Mark was like, "Yeah, nothing's keeping me down, and I am going to heal, and I'm good." And he's back. So, and also, I know we do this at the end of the show, but remember, after this show, stay tuned to Mark's Jukebox because his show is 2 hours, which starts at 2 o'clock, and it really is fantastic music from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Yes. And Mark, one piece of advice to you, keep your eyes open for Dave, our previous producer. He is devastated that he doesn't get to produce our show because Mark is back. So he cannot be trusted, Mark. So,
No.
please look out for Dave just so that he doesn't cause something to get you back.
He'll
out
sabotage.
again. Yeah, he can sabotage. But listen, let's go on. Let's take our first commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about what are you putting off. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. And hello, everyone. Welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix. And with me, my amazing husband and co host,
Stephen the Medium.
Stephen the Medium, is in the house. And today we're having an awesome conversation about what are you putting off, waiting for the right time, for the right place, and the life that you could be having right now. And let's just be honest, for so many of us, we are waiting. We wait. We wait for the right time. We wait for the right circumstances. We wait for the right place in our lives. We tell ourselves we will start that project someday, maybe later. We will have that conversation some other time, next week. We'll take that trip someday. How many of us talk about, yeah, maybe someday when I have more money, I'll take that trip. We will make the change when the timing feels better, but the truth is rarely the timing is the right time, the perfect time. And sometimes the greatest cost is not necessarily, that we are going to fail, is that life that we postponed while we wait for the right time. And the truth is the right time is never going to come. So if there's not such thing, then the only time to act is right now. So, Stephen, you came up with the subject. You thought it was an important subject to have. So I'm curious to hear your perspective, but I'm also curious, Stephen, given the work that you do, speaking to people who have crossed, I'm curious if you often hear about communications that they share with their loved ones about their regrets, about things that they never got to do because they were waiting for that right time.
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time in readings, but, when you ask me about coming up or thinking about a subject as the two of us always do, when I came up with that, it was, like most of this stuff, it comes from personal experience. And in so many years, and I still struggle with it now, so many years of just being and feeling so insecure that the procrastination on whatever it is, just waiting and waiting and waiting, was so much of it was just attached to not feeling good enough. And, and a lot of people, they don't want to go there. They don't want to think about it, or they would think, that doesn't make any sense. How's that connected? I just don't have time. And, because if I also, based on personal experience, Helix, I know, and for everyone listening, is that we are smart creatures, right? We're smart people, and our brains can manipulate and make anything justified. It doesn't matter what. No, it's not because of that. It's not because I don't I don't have high self-esteem or confidence or anything like that. I just blah blah blah. And that's, for so many people, it's just your brain or ego feeling like they're protecting you, or it's protecting you, and that's a necessity to say, no, that's not the reason. But I think for a lot of people, that putting things off, procrastination, is definitely because of how people are feeling. I know, even for me, if I'm starting, and this is current time, if I'm starting a new, say, service, and I go to my assistant, Amanda, who I love, and Amanda puts everything, like she plops it on my website, and maybe she doesn't put it live yet, or she does put it live, and then what really gets it out is me getting the ad from her, the advertisement, and then I post it all over social media. And there's definitely times that I hesitate and wait, because somewhere in that little part of me that still is that insecurity little section is, what happens if you do it and no one books an appointment? What happens if this isn't the right thing? Maybe you should just stay with what you're doing. And it makes me procrastinate. It makes me hold off on putting it out, completely attached to how I'm feeling, the wrong belief that I have sitting in me.
Yeah. Stephen, as a piggyback to what you said, because when you talk about procrastination, you ask yourself, so why? Why is it that we procrastinate? And I would even invite you, our listeners, to consider that most of the time it's not because of laziness. It's exactly because what Stephen said. It is fear. It's that fear that we live with. It's the fear of failing. It's the fear of being judged. It's the fear of stepping into something that might change our lives. You know, and the waiting allows us to stay where things feel familiar. But the problem is that waiting, the more you wait, it becomes a habit. And the longer that we delay, the easier it is, to keep postponing what really matters. And then, someday you find yourself, sick, saying to yourself, what happened? I wish. And Stephen, I'm sure that, that's a conversation that you have often. I wish I could have done that. I wish I would have, said what I didn't tell you. I wish I would have spent that money, gone on that vacation, here's the reality. So two things that come to mind, Stephen, from a narrow science perspective. Fear is a very familiar feeling for all of us, because it is fear is what feeds that very old brain of ours, that primitive brain designed in the primitive times, and its major function is to protect you from what it perceives as a threat. So it's not a bad brain, it's just trying to protect you. So when you think about something, you want to start that new project, that brain says, hey, I'm not sure. What happens? What if you failed? Then you're going to feel really bad, or you're going to be really hurt. So that brain says, oh, let's not do that. Let's stay in the comfort zone, because that's what's going to keep you, safe. So from a neuroscience perspective, that is what that brain is going to do. So we got to get really intentional, Stephen, at activating a different part of our brain where reason lives, so that you could then learn to pause and ask yourself, okay, so why am I feeling this way? And is that fear real, or is it a fear that I've made up? Does that make sense, Stephen?
Sure. Yes.
So, so that is, one thing. And then the other thing that comes to mind, Stephen, is, as human beings, we're very arrogant, because we are always living our lives as if tomorrow is guaranteed for all of us. I'll do that tomorrow. I'll get, I'm going to try this when, someday, somehow, but that someday, somehow, it's not now. So we have that arrogance. And the truth is, tomorrow is not guaranteed. Yesterday is done and over. All that we have is today. It's the moment. And you talk about the moment all the time. Why is the moment so important for all of us, Stephen?
Well, it comes down to the question you asked at the beginning, too, about how I must deal with this a lot in spirit when I do readings. And yeah, I mean, everything we're talking about is what dead people say to me, because they've lived this life and they have seen their journey. And when they get into spirit, they look down, and remember, they're not only looking down attached to themselves, but they're looking down attached to all their loved ones, right, that are still here in the physical world. And they realize, because of fear and making those choices or lack of choices, they never got to do what they wanted to do, or they never had so much, as much joy they wanted, whatever the case may be. And Spirit talks about that constantly, all the time. And, when you ask the question, Elix, why staying in the present? Well, because in the present, there's no fear, right? It's just, it's the present is the present. If you get in the present, I say this, and people have heard me say this a million times, is that living in the present, when you're in the present, that's where the magic happens.
Yes.
That's where you're able to have a perspective that is completely just like clear, if you will. There's no filters. There's just you're in a very, very good place. And when you get out, because I mean, it's hard to stay in the present all the time. But when you're sort of relaxed a little more, then you still have that incredible armor that you picked up when you were in the present, which then works and helps you when you're not necessarily always in the present.
Yeah, that is that really is wonderful, Stephen. And again, it's a reminder that actually you said something really, really important, because what you said is in the present there's no fear. So what I would invite our listeners to consider is that when they experience fear, that is their cue to know I'm not present. And by the way, by being self-aware that you're not present, that is an intentional way to activate that other part of our brain where, there's no fear, which will then get you to be present. Does that make sense, Stephen?
Yes, very much
so.
so.
So again, so if you're listening, I'm gonna throw a few questions for you to think about. What conversations have you been putting off? What opportunity have you delayed because you're waiting for the right conditions? And what part of your life feels like it is on pause? So that's for you to think about. And in the meantime, Stephen, you and I are going to take another break. So we will be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix, and with me, my amazing co-host,
Stephen F. Misick, Esquire.
my husband, and also Stephen the Medium. And today's conversation is about what are you putting off? Putting it off, waiting for the right time, the right place, in the life that you could be having or that could be happening right now.
Can
And
Elix, let me. I'm
yeah, go
sorry.
ahead. Go. No, no,
I
you
was,
go ahead.
I was going to say, based on what you just were talking about, with we're talking about the present.
Yes.
One of the things that a lot of people don't get is that fear shows up as your best friend, right? Because you said
Yes.
you said that, Elix, how it's comfortable, it's familiar, so you don't perceive fear as anything else except a good friend who can be a pain sometimes, but you know in the bigger picture is okay. It's a good friend. One of the great things,
It just wants to protect you from what it perceives as a threat, not having
exactly, but
anything bad happen.
exactly, Elix. But one of the things that I use in my class when I teach, and I think this analogy is really, really great, is when you think about getting into the present or being in the present or staying in the present, just sort of use the analogy that if you are, say, stepping into this glass booth, and inside the glass booth is the present. And as you're walking up the little ramp to get into the glass box, your good friend Fear is like, whoa, whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? You can't go in there. You can't go in there. And you do, and you go in and close the door, and you're in the present, and Fear can't get in there, and Fear just dissipates away. And that's why it's such a beautiful, freeing feeling in the present where the magic happens, because you get rid of fear. And when you can do that, that's why I always talk about being, in the present. And I'll tell you, Elix, one last thing is that what people don't get, and I hope everyone like takes this and absorbs it and keeps it with them. So when you're talking about something that, as you mentioned, we want to take this trip, but no, not this year. It's not good financially, or make a decision, whatever you're procrastinating with or putting on hold. People make that decision and say, okay, I don't have enough money, or this isn't the good time. Like you said, Elix, there's no good time, but that's what they do. And then somehow people think that is just like, okay, for right now, temporarily, I'm putting that aside, or I'm going to put that on hold, and that goes in a nice, neat package. And okay, I'm good now, right? I made a decision. I'll get back to it. I feel
Yeah.
good, right? The problem is that you're the operator of your life. This is not like a clone or a proxy that's just made that decision. If you're making that decision based on fear, that also means that even though you put that in a nice wrapped box, when you turn back and you start like focusing on like your regular day-to-day life, guess what? Same operator. You're doing the same thing with every decision with fear. I mean, it's the reason why you're making that decision in the first place about whatever you decided you need to put on hold is because you're using or utilizing this same actions, same behavior in every part of your life. And that's why people that don't do that and say, I'm going, this is what's going to happen. I'm not procrastinating. I'm doing whatever I need to do. And sort of like the restrictions out there is because primarily they're not using that fear like on a daily basis.
Well, I mean, you could not have said that any better. And, as a follow up to that, Stephen, one of the biggest illusions that we as human beings carry is the idea that there will eventually be that perfect moment. Because we're often telling ourselves, like you said, I'm going to do it when things come down. I'm going to do it when I feel ready. I'm going to do it when the timing is right. But the truth is, that perfect moment rarely arrives because life moves with uncertainty. Sometimes our careers shift. Sometimes families change. Sometimes circumstances, change or evolve. And if we wait for everything to line up perfectly, you're going to be waiting for a long time and being very disappointed, in life because sometimes, again, the perfect timing, when things get lined up, rarely exist. So I say sometimes the right time is simply the moment that you decide to get in action, to do something. So let me ask you, Stephen, and I think you and I sort of like we support each other really well here. But if somebody came to you and they were struggling with this conversation, right? How would you help them get in action right now?
I would start with what we just spoke about being in the present, because I love everything that you just said, Elix. It's just it's such a great way to like talk about this and give people some info. But like the glass box that I just talked about, all you need to do is just walk into it, close the door, and boom, you are in the present, and you're going to realize immediately that this is the perfect moment. It's the perfect moment because you're in the present, and there's nothing else. There's no past, there's no future. It's the perfect moment, right? So I would tell someone who's struggling with this is that, and I'm sure people are thinking, what does he mean? Like, how do you get in the present, right? Like, what does that mean, be in the present? Well, that being in the present is just being aware. So that when I teach courses, I tell people that, how do you get in the present, as the students ask me, and I'm like, the easiest way to do this is do a calendar of 7 days. Pick today for the first day. Just go outside if you can. You can stay inside. I always say outside, and I know it's still cold, and wherever you may be living. Outside is good, but if you have to do it inside, it's fine too. It works. Let's go with the analogy or the exercise of going outside. Just walk outside, stand in front of anything you pick. Stand in front of a bush, a tree. It doesn't matter. Like tree with no leaves, and just stare at something. Just focus on something. Say it's a bush that is like a rhododendron, or that maybe still has green leaves on it, but they're all shriveled because it's winter, or it's warm where you are. Pick a leaf and just stare at the leaf as much as you can, with sort of doing a diagnosis of the leaves, meaning that you want to know every single part of that leaf. Why? Oh, wait a minute. One side, the left side is a little yellow, but the right side has more lines or little wrinkles in it. And just really, almost like you're going to take a test, that you've got to look at this leaf, and then you're going to go in the house and take a test of where were the marks, where are the yellow part. You just do that, and it's simple, and you can pick anything. If you're in the house, you can do that to your refrigerator. It doesn't matter, and just time yourself like a minute. That's it. But for that minute, try as best as you can to not have thoughts, and they may come in, but just go back and focus on whatever you're looking at. And then tomorrow, do it for like a minute and a half. And the third day, do it for 2 minutes until you get to 7 days. So every single time you do that, like the first day, say you did it today and you did it for a minute. When you get out of that, for probably several minutes to maybe 30 minutes, you're still got a feeling of, without knowing, you're in the present, because you just did that exercise. So it lasts. It stays with you a little bit. The next day, when you do it for like a minute and a half, then an hour after, you're still in the present. You're more aware of things. You're spotting things. And when you get to the 7th day, whatever that's 3 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever the case may be, and you can shift and just keep looking at things, then you have hours after that. Just try that exercise and see the difference of how much more you're aware of everything around you. And that awareness then is going to start branching into being aware of yourself, and then starting to look at beliefs and stuff that don't serve you. And that's really where you start digging into, why am I procrastinating? And you start working towards a resolution.
That's a wonderful exercise. And I also want to say, Stephen, that fear is part of our identity, is part of who we are. It's part of our life. So you don't ever want to say, I'm never going to have fear in my life. That's just not realistic. That's just not part of our humanness. So you gotta give yourself grace. You gotta allow for fear to have a place in your life, because again, just like I said before, fear is not an enemy. It's just a friend, like that pesky friend trying to protect you from what he perceived as a threat. What you want to learn, and you can use those exercises that Stephen is giving you, is learn to not give power to the fear. It's learn to acknowledge the fear, but to move forward anyway. We call that bravery, right? Because the reality is bravery is defined as not the absence of fear. Fear is there anyways. Bravery is defined as action, doing something in the face of fear, doing it anyways. So you just want to make sure that that you understand that, yeah, fear is going to be there. It's always going to be in the background. It's part of it's part of our own neurochemistry, our brain network. Fear is a very important part of that network. So it's not about dismissing the fear. It's about learning to embrace it, and not giving power to that fear so that you then become paralyzed. That makes sense, Stephen?
Yes, I mean, and that's also just, again, having that knowledge is just so helpful in actually implementing that.
Yeah. And by the way, when Stephen and I talk about this, listen, we're in the game. We're playing the game. We are in it to win it. We're not just talking to talk here. We walk the walk. Both of us left our careers. Stephen was an attorney. I was a healthcare executive with a career that was super solid. We both left it. You don't think we experienced fear in the process? Of course we did. All kinds of gremlins in the background, self doubt, that imposter syndrome. But we didn't allow that conversation. We didn't feed it. We didn't allow it to stop us from doing what we knew we needed to do. And that's the reason we're here, doing what we love.
Yes.
So, and what we need to do right now is we need to take another commercial break. So let's do that, Stephen, and we'll be right back. And hello, everyone. Welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix, and with me, my amazing co host,
Steve in the medium.
Stephen the Medium, who is my amazing husband and also an amazing attorney at law.
Thank you.
And today we're talking about what are you putting off, waiting for the right time, the right place, and the life that could be happening for you right now. And Stephen, you said some really amazing things, and what I'm left with, one of the things, I heard loud and clear was that courage of acting now, and for me, that often is like that quiet courage of choosing to act now, and it's not because we're certain about what it is that we need to step into. It's definitely not because, there is no fear. Because again, just like I said before, you never eliminate fear. Fear is part of our life. But it's because you recognize that life really unfolds in real time. The people that we love, they're here right now, today. The ideas that we have and that we carry with us, they're alive right here, right now. The chance to change direction, that is going to exist, and it exists right here, right now. So, yeah, like I said before, waiting, it's going to feel safe because, again, that our mechanism is designed to keep us safe, to protect us from what he perceives as a threat. But action is really what creates movement, and movement is what's going to create possibility. The other thing, Stephen, that I as I was listening to you and I was thinking is when that fear creeps in and you focus on being in the now, as you said, like be in the now. I often say, because again, this is something that you've given me, and I practicing, as daily. It's a daily practice, if you will. One thing that helps me is to pay attention, because often the fear comes from some story I made up, and it's a made up story. The what if, it's not evidence based, it's made up. The again, the fear that something could happen is not evidence based, it's made up. So it's learning to sort of like uncollapse the story with what is fact, what is factual, what is here, what and ask myself, what evidence do I have that I'm gonna fail? And the truth is, if I ask myself that question, the answer is likely going to be, I don't have any evidence. Stephen, does that make sense for you?
It makes a lot of sense. It makes so much sense that there's something, one of my many projects that I'm working on, and I actually, and this, Elix, I have a mug that I got and designed, and it says Stephen the Medium, TNT. And the reason why I did that is it's something that what you just said, I think the way to sort of realize or maybe even just take that first step is when you're being aware. And as you just mentioned, Elix, on point about these beliefs that aren't true, the TNT is that's not true. And I think when you start something with that, like if you're starting to think something that and you're sort of spinning or the fear is taking over, I just think if you even say it out loud, because saying out loud is an action, right? And I think like action is so powerful. But if you just like stop and say, or even stand up and say, that's not true. That's not true. It's something that just really puts you in, and I've tried it. I've been trying it, and it works. It works saying TNT. That's not true, because then it starts making you really take a look at, if you're saying that TNT, that's not true. It automatically, and I think you brought this up, it brings you to a very powerful place, you're commanding back or taking back your life. And when you say that's not true, then you can pretty much go anywhere from there.
Yeah, oftentimes, again, our humanness, our brain is designed to make observations. When what it is that you observe, you start giving meaning to it. Then, as you give meaning, you then make some assumptions about that meaning, which leads to conclusions. But the problem is those conclusions, which, by the way, lead you to beliefs to take action, are based on assumptions that may or may not be true. So asking yourself or learning to intentionally say to yourself, that is not true. It's a way to learn to question those assumptions and to seek contrary data. So if that's not true, what is true? And that may be really an opportunity to bring yourself in the now in real time. Because again, I think a lot of this, again, for me, is our humanness is our humanness. Life happens. So this is about learning to pay attention, to be present so that you can make these corrections in real time. Not a week from now, not a year from now, not some other life other than the one that we have now. And Stephen, as we're approaching the top of the hour, I do want to ask you, you said this time and time again, time does not exist in spirit. So why is that meaningful for us right here?
Well, I mean, I think, I say that all the time, that what spirit tells me, time is not linear. And people, there's a lot of people that believe here that time is not linear, because it just, again, Elix, it opens your mind up to
Yes.
a possibility, or it opens it up to curiosity. If you're thinking, well, what does that mean? Like, Stephen, that time's not linear. And if you start challenging that statement or trying to get a little bit more knowledge, the whole point of, I think, life is to just get out of our boxes that we're all in and crawl out and start realizing there's more. And it doesn't mean you have to know what that more is. It just means that you have to know there is more. That's the most important thing. And that TNT thing, that's not true. I was putting that together because everyone needs a starting point. There's so many people that where they are, it's too difficult. Like, they come to a place of thinking, okay, I'm going to change. I'm going to look at stuff. I'm going to be aware. I'm going to get rid of those beliefs not serving me, but they don't know where to start. It's too hard. And that was, one of the reasons why I was putting that phrase together, is that, okay, that's your starting point. That's where you open the gate. So, but the time thing, I love. I mean, there's a lot more into this, Helix. Maybe another show we can do this with the time not linear, because we have past lives, we have parallel lives, and once you get that time is not linear, you get the opportunity to start understanding those other lives, and that you're in them, you were in them, and just, it's another magical place to help you in this life.
I would absolutely love that. So we're at the top of the hour, and as we close today's conversation, I want to leave all of you with something simple but quite powerful, in my opinion. The life that you want does not begin someday. It begins the moment you stop postponing it. And we often think that procrastination is about discipline. It's not. More often, it's about fear, as Stephen said, and the illusion that we have more time than we actually do. And remember this, none of us is promised a tomorrow. But we do know this, and that's for sure. We all have today. So here's the question for all of you to carry with you after today's show. What are you putting off that deserves your attention right now? Maybe it's a conversation, forgiveness. Maybe it's the first step towards doing something that you want, purpose. whatever it is, consider that the right time, it's not tomorrow. The right time is right now. So I want to thank you again, all of you, for giving your time, your attention, and listening to our show. And Stephen, tell people where they can find you and how they can connect with you and get wonderful conversations with you.
StephenTheMedium.com is my website, and Stephen the Medium is across social media platforms. All you got to do is type in Stephen the Medium, Stephen with a V, and you can check out everything that's going on with me, including booking appointments, and you can check my website to see what I offer.
And that's really important, because if you ever call Stephen with a PH, that's not going to get you anywhere.
Actually, Elix, it's Steve too.
Oh, that's right.
You call me Steve, I'm not answering. No,
he will not answer.
And you know what? You're unsubscribed. Just saying.
Oh my goodness! And as for me, you can find me at Coach Elix anywhere on social media. And like I said earlier, you want to see a funny video of me dancing at the gym today? Go look my Instagram, and you'll get a kick out of that. And as always, I want to thank our producer Mark Clark, who has his show upcoming right after mine, Mark's Jukebox. So stay tuned for that. And a big, huge thank you to everyone at WARA 1320 AM Radio for their constant support of this show and of both Stephen and myself.
They are the greatest crew.
They really are.
By far, the greatest crew at WARA 1320 AM.
Yeah, Dave is questionable, but we love him anyways. But listen, guys, remember, we will be away next week. Stephen and I are working on a project in Los Angeles, but we'll be back the week after. So see you then. Have a wonderful week, everyone.
Bye-bye.